Okay, so back to some more of the regular ADR processes. Can you take us through some of these?
Yes. So let's start with facilitative dispute resolution processes. So I've talked about mediation as being a primary example of that. So mediation, I think most viewers will be familiar with this, but just in case someone is new to the field, mediation is really a process where you have an independent, impartial third party helping two disputing parties or more disputing parties negotiate an outcome to their dispute. So a mediator, I guess in the general definition, is not going to offer advice to the parties and is not going to make a decision for the parties, but is going to guide them through a negotiation process. In some ways, a mediator acts as a negotiation coach. And that's why mediation falls into the facilitative dispute resolution categories. Now, for those viewers in the mediation field, you will know that there are different models of mediation. Some of them may move into into the advisory space, and that's also a question of hybrid processes to some extent as well. So there is some overlap between these categories. Other processes such as large group facilitation also fall into the facilitative category. So where you have, for example, a mediation in Europe. It's not uncommon to have mediations about where to build a new runway of an airport, for example. And often a mediation team will be engaged, and sometimes it'll be a mediation team from a number of different countries, because these airports are on the borders of various countries in Europe, for example. And part of the job of the mediation team will be to really run large-scale facilitations with hundreds of people at a time. But each of these each group of couple of hundred people will be representing one of the stakeholders, for example, people in the neighbourhood or people in the community who might be affected by the airport, to get their views and to help them identify spokespeople for that interest group. And they'll be doing that prior to running the actual mediation. So often large group facilitation, some people call it group mediation, but where you're really dealing with large numbers of people would also fall into this category. And then also conflict coaching, which I mentioned earlier, would fall into this category. Conflict coaching, where a conflict coach works one-on-one with a client, somebody who has a problem or a dispute or a tension, or a difficult conversation even, right? Something they need to really work through. And a coach is going to help them try to develop clarity or get some clarity about what's going on, to really comprehend, get a better understanding of not only their needs and interests, but also that of the other side. Also help them identify the sort of choices they might have about moving forward, and also help them develop some confidence and some greater competence in taking the conversation or the negotiation forward. Conflict coaching can be a precursor to mediation, or it can be helping someone prepare for a difficult conversation or a negotiation. And the last process that I want to mention is collaborative practice, which we also alluded to before. That can happen in a legal sphere, but also in other professional contexts. And essentially they're your professionals, let's say your lawyers, for both parties, agree to use interest-based mediative principles to resolve the dispute. And the lawyers go so far as agreeing that if they cannot reach an amicable solution on behalf of their clients, that they will not represent the client when they go to court, right? So if litigation does ensue, these lawyers are not involved. So that sort of gives an extra impetus, I think, or extra motivation for the lawyers to do everything they possibly can to negotiate an interest-based, amicable settlement on behalf of their clients.